Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. So here I have this app and this is the UI, and this UI and app I built using Flutter GetX, Riverpod and BLoC. So I built three versions of this app. So over here the first one is GetX, this is Riverpod, and this is BLoC. But this is actually a complete app. It has both backend, so it does have API and backend and notification and chattings. So all these features have been done using all these three state management systems. Anyway, so I'm gonna allow for this one GetX, and this is Riverpod, and this is BLoC. Okay, now of course in terms of UI and visual effect there is no change. So here I'm gonna do click on this for GetX, and here I see that we can get started, and this is where it takes us, and this one is for Riverpod, and let's get started, and the same happens here. All right, now for each of them we could log in or sign up. Now for GetX itself, actually I have signed up, so I'm going to log in using my credentials over here, and after that actually we'd be able to use the app. Otherwise we are not going to able to use this app. So I'm going to log in over here, and we'll see that it's trying to log in because it's connected with the server. So data is coming from server, and here we logged in. Now over here we have logged in using GetX. Now I don't have account for this too, so I'm going to go up and go ahead and sign up over here. Now first one over here, I'm going to use the username as Dibes tag, and I'm going to do email address, and here I would do dylan@dibestag.com, and I'll, in terms of password, I'll keep it just simple. And I'm going to sign up over here, and let's see. Okay, so we see that we have some response, and it says that user account already exists. Okay, now in that case we are going to use a different one. Let's go ahead and sign up. All right, so here it says that an email has been sent to verify to my account, which is my email account. So that means that I'm going to go ahead and verify the email address. So here I've got the link, and I'm going to click on this and verify this email address, and we should be good to go. Let's wait for it because Firebase verifies our email address. In our app we have used email address verification, and for this mechanism we have used Firebase. Now here it says that your email has been verified, as you can see. So now here we are, and inside this we are going to use the email address, the one that we have just used to log in. So I'm going to click over here, login. So here we are logged in using Riverpod. Now for BLoC itself, we are going to use Google login. Of course you could do email. Login, but here we'll go ahead and do Google login. So here we are doing Google login. So it means that our app supports custom login as well as Google login, Facebook login, and Apple login. As you have seen earlier, here at the top we had this Apple login. Now we should be logged in using Google. Now as you see over here, you can also use Apple to log in. Okay, beautiful. So our apps are ready. Now this part of this app has been done using BLoC. So let's go ahead and take a very quick look. So here is this search section, and here is this courses. So if we have a lot of courses, you'd be able to see them from here. And then over here we could also do chatting, and this is our profile section. So that was the GetX version. Now let's see the Riverpod version over here. So once again, this is our search section, and course section, and message, as well as our profile section. Okay, great. Now BLoC section should be the same, as you can see over here. So now here you could also go ahead and click on this section where it says go and see your lessons. Of course, here you would be able to play videos. Now here I put random videos. All the videos are same though. All right, so the videos are same, but you get the idea. So the teacher would be able to upload these videos from backend. Now let's take a look at this message section using GetX. So over here we do see that we would be able to send messages. Here it's hey there, and send messages. And of course we'll have this send images and file section. Okay, so that's what we would be able to do. Here we'll see how this payment section works. So it'll take you to this course section. Earlier we have seen that you can view them as a video, right? But you could also go ahead and buy the course, but the course should be uploaded by the teacher from the backend. As you can see, it's loading. So here we have integrated Stripe payment, so you'd be able to, your users would be able to pay through Visa card, Union card, and MasterCard. All right. So of course, on virtual machine like this, we are not going to do that. And over here, user would be able to see all the courses that have been uploaded by the people in this platform. But of course, this one we also have over here. Now,
hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. So let's take care of the other issue that we are facing last time. Well, if we going to log out over here, and then we do see that we have an issue where it says that we have a bad request, which is 400. Well, it doesn't really matter what kind of status code is this. The thing is that we are getting a status code which we are not supposed to, because we are logging out. But once again, this problem is causing by this one, not directly actually this one. So it's originating once again from here. So where we had this settings page. So this setting page over here, we are triggering this, right? So as we trigger this, it eventually affects our home page. We know that it affects our home page, and in home page we are doing this kind of thing like last time we also did. We are getting some data, and as well as we are also calling this init method. So the idea is once we re-trigger this block settings, the home page gets triggered. And we already know that why homepage gets triggered. That's because of applications widgets over here. They are in a widget, well, in a list actually. So this list gets re-rendered as we work on this application page over here, settings, right? So during login it happens. So we know it. Anyway, so to get rid of this problem over here, we need to come to our home, not really home page. I think it should be our home controller. Let me find it. Home controller, this one. Okay, so once again, we have to do a check. Now, how could we do this check? To do this check, actually, we can find our storage service class. Over here, we know that we have user token, right? So, and we can have an access to it, user token. But at the same time, we know that this user token actually, when we log out, if you see in your application settings over here, when we log out, we remove this user token, right? Okay, so this is the thing that we can use in our leverage to work with this problem. So let's get it, home controller over here. So one of the things we could do first, we can take this whole logic actually, we can take all of it. And then inside this over here, we could do a conditional check. And what is the conditional check we could do over here? So over here, we could do like say global dot service storage dot get user token. This one we can get this one, but actually we need to wrap it around else if. So if statement, which we could do easily. Now we'll check inside is not empty. If it is not empty, then we continue with the rest of the code and we are good to go. So because if it is not empty, so only in that situation this would get called, which also means user has already logged in. But if user has logged out, we don't go to this API call, which we don't need to. So over here, make sure that user is logged and then make an API call. Okay, and with this we are good to go. Otherwise the user hasn't logged in, so this way we wouldn't have any problem. So let's go ahead and make sure that our code takes effect. Let's restart it, and then over here we are going to do info@dbestack.com. that's my website there, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and let's go ahead and log in. And beautiful, we have done this one. And let's come over here, let's log out, and then we log out and we don't have any errors, nothing is there. Of course, if you want, you could also do a log that user has logged out. So over here we can do else, okay, print user has already logged out. Okay, so with this you could also print out this one. So let's do it one more time. So over here I'm going to type info.dbestack.com, and then here 1 2 3 4 5 6. Beautiful. So it's gonna log on, it's gonna help us log in, and then now we're going to log out. So if we log out over here, so user has already logged out, so nothing to do, and the error has been solved. Thank you.
Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum. So here we'll take care of a new problem that we have been facing. Well, since over here we are using BLoC to pass around the context and manage our context, and each time you access this context not inside the stateful class, then you'll see a warning like this where it says that don't use build context across async gaps. So over here in this line, actually we are using a context which is build context type. Now one of the things over here, if you hover over on this, it says that across async gaps. So if you have asynchronous operation, if you use context not within stateful class itself, you might have this warning. Well, if it's a warning, but it could also create problems. So since it's a warning, so we need to be able to handle it. Now how to do that? Well, before we go ahead and look up the context, what do we do over here? First you have to understand. So here we look up the context of home page blocks, and that we trigger an event. That's what we do. So how can we do it better so that we don't have any warning? And at the same time, when you look up the context and trigger an event, we need to make sure that actually this context exists. So for this reason over here, we could do like this. We can access the context inside a conditional block, and after that over here we could just simply do mounted. So with this, it would make sure that context is still there and it's the right context. And with this, if you do it, you will see that the wiggly line has gone. Okay, so that was inside this home controller where we were accessing a block context. And we know that we also have a sign-in context, and in the sign-in context itself, actually, we are also accessing the context, the build context. Now this is just a controller, a class, not a stateful class or stateless class. It's just a class. So over here, we do see that we are accessing this context. So we could do the same thing one more time over here. So over here, we could do if context dot mounted. Okay, now let's go ahead and do this operation. And with this, we'll see that our wiggly line has gone. Now, right after this, actually, we could go ahead and restart our app, and we'll see that everything is still in original place, and we can go ahead, log out from here. So that means that our app is working. Okay, now we have to deal with another problem. If you see over here, I'm over here and I'm going to say this, the third dot, right? Now let's go ahead and check log out from here. And as we log out, we are going to have to say, for example, I'm going to log in with an account, dbestack.com, and then 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now let's come over here. Okay, right, and as you see, it's still the third one. So the problem is we also have to reset this one. Now we know that
to reset, we are doing the context on home page. So we could do this one. All right, so over here we could do home page blocks over here, then add, and here we would do const, and then here I think that should be trigger app events, not trigger app events, home page. Well, do you have home page dots? Is this one? Okay, right. And most probably it doesn't want const over here. All right, so now let's go ahead and save it, and we are going to restart it. And now I'm going to log out, and I'm gonna log in back. Okay, log in back with another account, dlan dbestack.com, and then over here. So let's go ahead and check on this. So yes, now as we log out, we can always reset this one, and that's beautiful. Now another problem that we should notice over here is that for app blocks we have const over here, and for home dots we don't have const. What's the reason? Now if you go over here on trigger events, okay, now we are calling here the constructor of our abstract class, which is our super class. But if you come over here and go ahead and check that, we are not doing this. But if you want, you can do that actually. So here we could do super. All right, and over here now you also need to use const, otherwise you'll get error. Yeah, just like this, pretty much it. So with this, now here it would ask you to use const modifier, and now with this you'd be doing the same as before, just being consistent. You can skip not using const, but const is compiler friendly, and Flutter loves using const. So that's why if you use const pretty much wherever you can, go ahead and use const. But of course there are places that you can't use const. So let's go ahead and check that we are not breaking anything. All right, okay, I'm gonna log out one more time. This is very important because later down the road we don't want to have any bugs in our app. So the thing I was going to say, yeah, use const as much as possible, which is good for debugging and memory space. Because when you use const, it's during the compile time, Flutter framework knows that okay, the value is not going to change, so it can allocate the perfect memory or less memory. Imagine if this is dynamic, which also in that case you only know the value during runtime, which is risky and not memory efficient. All right, okay, great, beautiful. So far we are improving, and we learned a lot about blocks, and we'll learn more in this section about block itself and how block helps us to debug things. Well, one of the things that we could do over here is like this. Say for example this one, if you comment it out, and okay, let's restart our app after this, and then we are going to log out, and after this, so let's go ahead and log out over here. Now here I'm going to log in, and we know that the situation what's going to happen, it's going to take us to a settings page. All right, and I'm going to log in. Right, user exists, and this is our settings page, the one that we see. But in fact, when we logged in, we were supposed to see an event that triggered. Like for example, when we log in from our login page, actually first what happens, we are in the application page. All right, and in application page itself, we have this bottom navigation bar, and bottom navigation bar over here we have this build page. Now build page has the first item, which is home page. Now if you go to home page, click on this, Now over here, it should trigger one of the events over here, like in init. Actually, we load the items and then we trigger event. So that's the thing that we are actually doing, but it didn't happen like this. So what was this problem and how to debug our blocks, events, and states? So these are the things that we want to know. Now that's why we need to create a mechanism where we would be able to print a log about blocks, and this is a very good debugging of block itself, and which should be present in your app to know that, well, this is the block I was expecting, in a sense that this is the event I was expecting, but it didn't happen. So to be more confirmed, because right now there is no direct way of knowing that what event triggered. But of course you can go ahead and guess on your own each time you click on this. We know that what's going to happen, but isn't it better to have it printed out over here? So that's what we want to do. Now for this reason, actually, I'm going to introduce a new idea which is called Bloc Observer. So with Bloc Observer, we would be able to monitor everything that's happening inside blocks, events, and states, and that's super useful for debugging, and part of the block you should know it anyway. Okay, so we're gonna learn about Bloc Observer. Now to be able to do that, first let's come inside this routes folder, and inside this we're gonna create a new file, and we'll call it Bloc Observer.dart. As your app gets bigger and bigger, actually you should have this one, Bloc Observer. For a small app, it's not necessary, but actually our app has a lot of features, so I want to introduce Bloc Observer from now on so that we don't have any problems. Now to be able to know about Bloc Observer and to get the code that is ready already, I don't want to type in, come over here. You can also check it out from the resource link of this Udemy course, and then go ahead and find it. And first we are going to copy this code from here. So, and then I'm going to explain that how it works actually. So I'm going to put the code over here, and yeah, so that's the first thing. Now it's my global observer, Bloc Observer. So here, what do we need to do? If you want to initialize it globally, we can come to our global.dart file over here, and at the top over here we can get the block object, and let's see, well, I think it's already at the top. Okay, fine, let's import it. So observer, this one, and then here my global observer. That's it. Now with this, your observer, which is this one, would be connected to our app, which would be able to observe the app of its blocks, states, and events. Now a few things you do see that we already have well, an event, transition, on change, and then on error. So definitely on error, where if things go wrong, then you can go ahead and check with the block itself that what block or events went wrong. If there are even errors, in that case it would get triggered. Anyway, so now let's come to our settings page over here. Let's first understand how the whole thing works and how it's going to help us to debug things. All right, so anyway, so one of the things we see immediately over here, that we have some log printed, and that's pretty much starts from here, the new log. Now let's go to our global observer over here, which is this one. All right, so one of the things first we see that it has home blocks, instance of home page course item. Now actually this should be coming from here. So in general, if you have this few sections on event, on transition, and on change, actually they get called in this order. First this one gets called, and then this one, and then on change. So in this certain order. So the first one over here, we were trying to print the block. So the block is actually homepage blocks, and event name is page course item. Now this is the event actually got triggered. And how do we know that? We can also verify from it here. So if we go our home controller, well, we know that in home controller there is this event we add in the event handler. So that's why this got called, and we printed it automatically. So the beautiful thing about this block observer is that it prints everything automatically for you, and which helps you debug, because of course there is a machine over here and you are a programmer engineer, so you also know that what should be happening, which events should get triggered if I click on certain things, right? So over here, if I'm going to click on this one, definitely it's gonna trigger app blocks events, because we know that these 5 buttons, they are controlled by our app blocks. So this is what should get triggered. Now as you see, this is the new log. Okay, now here our understanding, we confirm with our app over here, because we know that app blocks, it should get triggered in a sense that, I mean, it has to be whatever the block is there, it has to be app blocks, and instance where I'm trying to say the event itself is app trigger event that gets triggered. And let's confirm our understanding. So this is our application page, and we know that when you click any of these buttons, this one always gets called. So with this, we confirm our understanding that trigger app events gets called, and this is what exactly has been printed. So the log itself, where it says block observer and on event, this things is very useful. And now rest of the things on transition, on change, they're kind of same thing, the way they work. Well, over here, as you can see, both of them, they take kind of block. Now over here, the first one has been printed, it's the second one, which is this one, app transition. So during runtime, it also printed our block, which is app blocks, and transition here is like the change of things. So it's telling you what is your current event, and what is your current state, and what should be your next state. So that's what you see over here. So current state is app state, and we know that if we go and find our state, we know that, well, we only have one state. So here, app states, over here, this one, that's it. So that's what it is trying to print over here, an event of app trigger event and next state, because this is the only state that we are using, but internally we are changing the value over here. So this same state gets called, but with a different kind of value, which means that it has, the objects are different. So now that's kind of becomes more helpful in a sense that what you are doing, what you should not do, and how your app should behave. So everything is printed out over here. So that's why it's super useful to have a block observer over here. But so far we don't have any serious error, so it's not printed. In future we'll see that how error gets printed. Now these are the few things. You don't need to do much. In general, you should have this mechanism in your app which should help you to know. Now one of the things that right away we could do, and which would be helpful in long term, like for example, one more time, this is the example that I was taking. Now I'm going to restart our app, and then I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to log out. All right, now let's log in back. But of course, if we try to log in, a lot of events and states would get triggered, because every touch input field is an event, and a combination of state and event, which is a block. Okay, so in general, so here we are stuck right now. Not stuck, I mean, after this, so far we are not printing anything. So let's click on this. All right, now you see right after this we only have user exist. But in general, as an engineer of this app or programmer, you would expect an event should have triggered, but which did not. So that's why we are over here, because we didn't fall back to this home page button. And we know that if you go back to your home page button, an event should get triggered inside the init method. We have seen it many times inside the init method. So there is this event over which didn't get called. So which helps you to understand that, okay, at least I know that my event didn't get called. So which takes me over here, because now it is going back with the original state of this application right before it was logging out. In that sense, while application trigger app event, the value was 4 in this index. So this is what it was trying to do. So that's why it came back over here. So anyway, so with this, you'd be able to have better control and better understanding, and it will help you to debug your app, just debugging the blocks and everything else in long term. Okay, now as you see, if I restart app, there is an event that gets triggered because it loads data from server using this home controller on init method, and this one gets triggered. Hopefully after this, it would be a better block debugger. All right, so now this is the time we go ahead and work on this clickable events, which means that we would be able to click on them and go to a new page, which also means that a detail page. So that's what we want to do. Now, to be able to work with this, inside this pages, we are going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it course. And then inside this, we are going to create another folder, and we're going to call it block. And inside this, we are going to create files over here. The first one is well, course detail events .dart. All right, and then course detail states .dart. And then inside this, we're gonna call it course detail blocks .dart. All right, so these are the 3 things that we should be working on right now. Let me close this. We don't need application page. All right. Okay, so the first thing we want to do over here is go ahead and create an event for our course detail. Now over here, we're going to create an abstract class. So here would say course detail events, course detail events. And inside this, we'll have a constructor, course detail events. That's all. Events, we have a typo, let's fix this. And after this, we're gonna create a class for trigger course detail over here and extend course detail events, this one. And then here we'll have const course trigger detail, and then over here we'll also have super like this. But with this, actually, we also want to know about our course item. We need that one because that should be coming from backend, every detail about a certain course, and we want to show it over here. So we need it. Here we'd say final course item, and we're gonna call it course item. And then we're gonna simply pass this course item. All right, so with this, our basic course event should be up and running. and over here inside this we are going to have state. So class course detail states, just like this, and inside this we'll have a constructor const course detail state. All right, but we're going to have to deal with some variables and fields. So one of the things that we already know that in our events we'll have course details. So for this one we also need a variable here, because this one would trigger and pass the item to this one, and then we need to make the necessary changes. Course item. Okay, and so this dot course item, just like this. With this our error should be gone. Okay, now this is optional, and which means that we may pass the value, we may not pass the value. And at the same time you want to create a copy with method. So here we're gonna return course detail states and a copy with, and okay, now inside this we're going to have our course item, and this should be optional once again, course item, and then here just simply return course item. Inside this course item, if it exists, use this one, otherwise the one that at the top, that one. Of course we need to wrap it inside actually course details, this one. Okay, now with this our error should be gone, and now we are going to work with our blocks. So here we'll have class course detail block, extends block over here, course detail events, and course detail states. So let's import them, import the package. Well, we know everything about it, so just I'm not going to talk as much as I did before, which is not important. Otherwise I'm just going to have to repeat everything. So course detail states, this one. All right, and inside this let's register events, and the first event will say trigger course detail, this one. We have this event already there, we know that. And here we'll say trigger course detail. And then over here we'll do void trigger course detail. So over here we'll have course detail events, I think. Not really this one actually. Trigger course detail, this one. Event and emitter class. That should be emitter. And inside this course detail states, and we'll call it emit. Beautiful. And then emit. So over here state dot copy with, and then inside this we're gonna have course item event dot course item. Beautiful. Okay, now we're almost ready. The next thing we want to do over here, actually go ahead and create a class for our course detail page. So inside this I'm going to create a class over here, and we'll say course detail dot dart, just like this, and st stateful class course detail this. Let's go ahead and import it. Okay, beautiful. And okay, so that's been done. Now right after this, actually we can go to our pages.dart over here, pages.dart, and right after this we're gonna copy this one, and we have everything ready so quickly. Now of course we need to go ahead and define app routes. Well, if we can't get it from here, we can jump to from there. So for showing course detail, so over here I'm going to copy this, and we'll say course detail course detail. We understand these things, DTAI. Also we understand these things, so we don't need to be concerned about anymore. Course detail here, course detail, this one. All right, and so course detail block. Okay, and make sure things are imported. So that's a sign in. Okay, well, yes, we have them imported at the top over here. Now let's go ahead and restore our app, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, we don't have any error right now, so that means that this section over here is working. All right, and then now we need to be able to come inside this where we have homepage, and inside this we have this course grid. Now course grid should have an on tap event. So far we don't see that. Let's come over here. Okay, yes, we do have an on tap event actually over here, not inside this. Now from here we want to be able to go to a new page, so here we do navigator dot of context, and then here we want to go to a pushed named route, second one, because we have to keep our original page. Now inside this we are going to have let's see what it takes. Take a string route, so you have to pass a string over here. So app routes dot course detail, this one, and after this you see there should be an object arguments, and which is of map. Well, here it didn't directly say that it is map type, but in general the arguments are passed inside a map object, so that's what we are going to do. Well, it didn't say that, but I know that it's gonna be a map object. So over here we do arguments over here, and this is our map object. One of the things we want to pass over here is ID. Now that should be the ID of this wherever I click, it should be their ID. Now over here I'm going to pass state dot, we have the state object, yes we do have, and course item, and then element, and then we already have the index. For that index, get the ID, because we know that we are passing ID from backend, so that's what we are passing. Now if things work well, then we're gonna go back to this page where it says course detail page. All right, so now let's restore our app and make sure that everything is working fine. Okay, now let's click on this. All right, we do come to a white page, and that's not bad actually. And okay, that's also the thing. What page are we going? Our first job is to verify that actually we are on this page, and how to do that. Now, since this is a stateful class, one of the options that we could use when the page gets initialized, so we know that right after this we can call void initState method. In general, this is the preferred way of doing, and then inside this we can grab whatever is coming. So whatever is coming when you click on a button, like from here, actually course detail, not this one, I guess that should be home page, right? So as we are passing the arguments, so we can grab the arguments inside this detail page inside the init state using model route of context settings dot arguments, and because we are passing a map from here, so convert them into map. Now var data. Okay, now one of the things later down the road we could do print over here is data dot values. Okay, all right, so that value should be actually the ID itself. So now let's go ahead and restart our app, and we'll see how things go. Now things been restarted, and then over here, okay, we get an issue. Okay, so here we do see that depend on inherit widgets exception. Well, long story short, the thing is that when it was here, it was not able to grab this. One of the reasons could be that the context was not available at that moment. So the context is not available, and you are doing this operation, which means that well, no context, so how can you grab the information, because information is injected inside context. That's how Flutter works. So no context, no information, so we get this error over here. And one of the solutions, it's asking you to, okay, typically reference to inherited widgets should occur in widget build methods. Alternatively, initialization based on inherited widgets can be placed in the did dependencies method, and which is called after init state whenever the dependencies change and thereafter. So it's so the understanding of this word, I mean, while it took me a long time to understand what is this and how it works, it is telling you, okay, well, if a lot of the things you can't find on init state, that's fine, but you can also grab them from the dependencies change method. So this is where you should go ahead and try to do your things, or the things, because it really got called at the very early stage. So in that case, if you can't get it, so go ahead and do it in did dependencies method and try to look for your stuff. So that's what we are going to do. Now if you're learning GetX with me, so it is more like, you know, GetX has onInit method and onReady method. So this is onInit method and this is onReady method, so you can understand it like this: dependencies. Now we know that GetX is also a good state management. So did dependencies change? Yeah, like this. Now we are going to take this and put it here, and hopefully it should work. Okay, so instead of calling it from there, we can now call it from here, because it's telling you that go ahead and find the whatever you're looking for, go ahead and find it there. So now let's go ahead and do it. And over here we do see that we printed the values too. So whenever the context is available, this gets called, and as this gets called, we get our value. Okay, so for this one to work, the idea is you're using this method, which would be available when the context is available. So with this, we know that, okay, great, our app is working so far and pretty well, and we can grab it. And that also means that over here we could do one thing though. We could go ahead and check out this value and print it here. Now to be able to print it here, simply we're going to do a child over here, and then here we might do text, but of course what value? Well, one of the things we could do over here at the top, we could declare a variable and we'll have it a late type, late var, and we can just simply go ahead and call it id over here, and then here we'll have id, and then we do id.values. Well, with this we'd be able to print on the console values dot to string. All right, now inside this we are going to have id dot values to string, this one, and so that we know we can see them, so we wrap it around center widget, and at the same time, actually if you really want to go back and forth, then you should use a scaffold over here, and then body, inside the body you should use the one that we had, and we can also use a little app bar over here for now. App bar, yeah, this one. With this would be up and running and see actually what's happening. Okay, so it did say that ID has a bit of problem. Okay, now let's go ahead and check on this. Now, okay, ID is 2 because I was clicking on this one. Now if I click on this, the ID is 3, and that's beautiful. So that means that it's so far working. I mean, we can pass value, so that's the point. Okay, right now we want to take care of another major issue that's been happening throughout the app. Well, the thing is that over here, actually this one gets called every time, and this gets triggered every time as well. And for example, over here, if you see, let's go ahead and print our result, and here we'll say the result is, and then here we do result.data dot well, we could do to string or any of the data, like we could do like the 0, which means the first one. Okay, when we say 0, that means the first one, and it looks like we do have an issue over here. Invoke data length, it should be 0, I guess. All right, so let's do this one, or you can also do saying the data is not empty. All right, anyway, so now let's go ahead and restart our app over here. Okay, so the app's been restarted, and here we are. The result is okay, and then maybe to string, let's go ahead and do that. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, now let's come over here. Now let's come over here. Okay, and we still see that. Okay, so well, it became an object. So well, so every time, the point I'm trying to make, every time you come over here, it would actually call this whole API. Say for example, if you move from here, then come back, and then you'll see the whole API is getting called. Well, here we are partly printing some data, but that's very expensive because you don't want to do that. Now, how to solve this? Well, there could be a lot of solutions. One of the solutions is that we need to make this class a singleton class, which means that there would be only one instance of this class, and we'd be able to call it from anywhere we want. Okay, because with the current approach, it just tied over here, which is not good, and we just want to create one single instance. Now with this, the class will have many instances. Every time you visit it, it gets called, recalled. So we don't want to do that. With the singleton class, we'll have just only one instance and we'll never create it ever again. So with this we'll have better control, and it'll just only get called once, or we could call it the way we want, the number of times we want, but not like on each time we create. I mean, each time we click on a button it gets called, which is very inefficient for the server. So, well, how to create this one as a singleton class? Well, over here, first we have to create a constructor. So in general, if you want to create a singleton class, your class should have private constructor. Well, in our case, yes, we have a constructor like this one, but actually this is not private, this is public. So first we want to create a private constructor. To do that, in general, in Dart you do like this. So with this it becomes like a private constructor. It says that add final field parameters. We'll take care of that later. Now this time this becomes private, but it doesn't have any name. Okay, so you can also give it a name over here if you want. This is the convention. Without name it should work as well. And then over here actually you should create an instance from it, because you just create one instance internally. So static final, we can say home controller, and you can name it anything, but the convention is calling it singleton. All right, and with this, well, we still have an error because it wants you to. Okay, that's the first step. And over here, well, it did say that we might have the method internal isn't defined for the type controller. So you also have to define it over here in a sense that like this, home controller dot internal. So this is the method that makes it actually like singleton. So these two properties, but of course we have another problem. So it's add final field formal parameters. So it is talking about this one, this final field. So make it as a formal parameter. But before we go ahead and change it, the first thing you want to do it like we are going to initialize it later. And how to initialize it later? So over here we would create a factory constructor. So let's go ahead and do that. And inside factory constructor, we'll have singleton dot context equal context like this. And over here we don't want to have it like this, required build context. Okay, right. And after that you just have to return singleton, the object that you created early. Now why do we have factory constructor? This is a factory constructor. A factory constructor, make sure you will have the original only one instance. Okay, now with the factory constructor it will make sure that whenever you call the singleton class, it returns you the only one created instance. So that's why you have to have this factory constructor. So the signature of a singleton class in general, so you'll create a constructor with this underscore. Okay, but of course you can also give it a name. You can name it anything actually, internal, external, outgoing, it doesn't matter. So, or if you want you can skip that. So if you don't give it a name over here, say for example you don't want to give it any name, and then you are good to go over here as well, just remove that, just keep it like this, the error is gone. So if you name it here, you have to name it here. But of course, if you name it here, say external, then we're gonna take this one and put it here. So any name is okay. All right, so over here it is treated as like a method over here. So if you remove this, you'll see that here the method external isn't defined. So in general, of course, you can also have a body like this if you want, okay, but we are skipping that. We don't want any of this because we don't need anything to be initialized inside the constructor body. Now, why we have this factory constructor? With the factory constructor, we make sure that we are returning only one instance. So we have to return this instance, whatever the one that we created over here. And how to return it? Using factory, not directly calling any of this. So with this, actually, now we would make a restructure of our code. But one more thing I also want to change over here. So I want to get a getter actually. So that we can directly call this user profile. So here get method gets, so get keyword gives us a getter. So, and over here nothing else changes, everything is same as before. We don't need to worry about that one. So all we did, our normal class became a singleton class. Now if it did over here, so one thing we could do right away, we can come over here. Actually we don't need this, okay. Yeah, now of course if we don't need this, we'll have other issues like, okay, how to get these things and how to work with them. So one of the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to remove this. We don't need this. Now of course over here you also can remove this. Now how to access to this one? Now you can get access to this one by calling it like this. So over here you could create an item or variable and you'll call it user item, and you'll call the variable name profile user profile. That's it. Now over here, okay, I think you need to import it. Okay, right. And inside this over here you could do user profile. Now we can call home controller, and all we need to do, we need to pass a context. So that's what we want to do. And then we would do user profile. But with this we'll have problem actually. We might have problem getting the context itself. Let's see. So let's remove this. I want to have this. Okay. All right. Now we'll see if we get the context or not. Okay. So if we don't get the context, we would move to dependencies method. All right. So that's the first thing. Now how to actually, now with this we can get an instance of user profile from our home controller class, which is this one. Okay. All right. Now since the class is only created once and instantiated once, so user profile, it doesn't matter how many times you'll call, you'll get the original object. So in our case we just have only one user for this app currently over here, so one instance and every property for that inside instance, and we don't have any problem. Now that's for user profile. But how to go ahead and initiate this call, because we also need to initiate this one. All right, and how do we do that? Now we can come inside this sign in controller over here. Now inside this, when everything is done, we load the data, we log in. Okay, so we log in over here and store the user profile internally, and we go to new page. Right after this, actually over here we could call this a singleton class. Now one of the thing I want to do, first we need to make sure if the context is there. So here we do context dot mounted like this, and then inside this over here we're gonna call like say home controller, and inside this you have to pass context, and then you just simply call your init method, and that's all. Now one of the thing we could do, let's see if we could do await or not, because init method is asynchronous, so we need to make sure that we wait. If you don't await, actually it's not going to work. Right, so that's the first thing. Now I'm going to restart everything and we'll see how things go. All right, now here's this problem. Looks like well, we are not here. Now one of the thing we can do right away, first let's go ahead and log out, and then here we do info@dbestech.com and password 123456. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, right, now this is all right, so we can get this right. Okay, good. But what if you go to other page and come back, and let's see over here. Well, that's fine, and let's make sure that when you go to other pages, well, now let's go here. All right, now let's come over here. Now we don't see that our message, which was supposed to print over here, the result is, so it's not printed. Okay, all right, so that's fine. It's printed at the top because that was the very first time, as you can see. So that's the very first time that was printed. But now if you come over here and you see, well, it's not there at all. Okay, it's still the very first time. Okay, so every time you do like this, our instance is not getting called, and which is good because you don't want to make the same call again and again. Now let's come over here, and now let's go back. Let's come over here, let's go back, no problem. So let's log out and come over here. All right, so now let's log in back, and now let's do this one. Okay, great. But what if I restart the app? Okay, this is the problem. So if you restart the app, so nothing is there and it's gone. Well, it didn't really gone, but the context didn't get updated. So that is the problem. Or data just got lost because it refreshed the memory. I would say that it refreshed the memory, because we can confirm this. So let's come over here inside this. Now someone might say, okay, can you do like this, override, and then it would do void did, I think the method did dependencies change. I think this is the method, and the super did dependencies did change dependencies actually. All right, now someone might say, okay, you can take this one out, but of course it has nothing to do with this, we know that, but you can still do that, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so here's this problem, but you also don't want to call this home init controller again and again. In that case, we'll get the instance again and again. I mean, you can say, okay, let's call home controller.init from here, but if you do that, then what's the point? What's the point of doing this singleton class? It will lose the value, because if you call it one more time again, so it's gonna lose the value, so we cannot do it. We have initialized it here inside this sign-in controller. That was good, but now currently we cannot do it over here. Now how to do that? But first let's go ahead and do one more thing over here. Print check my status. Now here we'd say status state, actually not status, state dot course item. All right, so let's check my status over here. Okay, so my status is empty. So the problem is, if you log out, it's not about logout. If you restart your app, the status becomes empty, and which is understandable actually, because the data get lost from the memory. Now, of course, if you go back and check it over here. So now let's go ahead and check. Okay, well, of course, even though first time my status is empty, but later on my status is not empty. Okay, so data gets updated, right? Okay, so this is the place where actually we could do a check. Okay, all right, so what is the check you want to do? You want to check that whether the state is empty or not. All right, okay, so that's what we want to do. So we will only call this home controller .init if our state is empty. State well, is empty, or you could also do like this. Instead of state is empty, course item is empty. If it is empty, in that case you go ahead and call it, and here you could call home controller dot well, not dot context, and you pass the context, and then dot init. All right, okay, one thing you should do, you should await. All right, otherwise it won't work. Can we do await over here? And we could, but I guess it's not a good idea, so let's remove this one. But it doesn't matter, if it's empty it gets called a few times, we know that. All right, so let's work on this. All right, and let's do like this. So over here we do print state dot course is not empty. All right, so that's what we want to see. And over here I want to print like this, so that it becomes obvious that what we are doing. All right, okay, cool. Let's restart our app. We did, and hopefully we'll see first is empty course. Oh, well, it's not empty. It was never empty from the beginning. Now let's come over here. Okay, now let's see. Okay, course is not empty, so we are not printing this line at all. Okay, all right, let's make sure actually how it works over here. Print course, actually not like this, so it's a course is empty. All right, now let's see, verify what's going on. Okay, great. So course is empty first time, second time course is empty. All right, so it was empty, and we saw it that it was empty, so data was not there, and after that we see course is not empty. Because it's not empty, so it's not getting called anymore. So let's go ahead and check it here. So we'll always see that course is not empty, course is not empty, course is not empty, course is not empty, course is not empty. So which means that it's not getting called anymore, which is very different than earlier code, and this is much better. And because this is what you want to do, actually you don't want to have an API call which gets called every time, and that is of course not efficient. Okay, great. So we've been doing so far so good, and we also optimized our app, and this is one of the best thing that you could do as a programmer, in a sense that avoid network call again and again, which is very bad because it creates a lot of load on the server side. A lot of time, yeah, if you could do a lot of things on your phone, that's fine, but on your mobile phone, but don't create server pressure, which is highly recommended to avoid. and because that could crash, the server could crash or load it, or it would of course definitely create more bandwidth. More bandwidth means more cost. So with this, so far we are great. We have learned how to optimize network call, and everything happened even inside this block using block and state. Beautiful. Okay, next, one of the things we want to do over here, as we click on this, we want to actually over here show an app-bar, right? Right now, well, there is no title for it, so we want to show the title as well. We're going to open up our folder, Project Explorer over here, and inside this course widget over here, just like this, we will create a new folder. We'll call it widgets, and over here we'll have a file and we'll call it course detail widgets .dart. Great. Now inside this we are going to draw an app bar, or build an app bar actually, not draw an app bar. So here we'll have app bar, and it's a build app bar, and then over here return app bar. All right, so let's go ahead and import the dependencies. All right, and right over here I think we can have this title widget. Now inside the title widget we want to have our app bar and how it should look like. Great. Now inside title we want to use the text, but remember we have a reusable text widget, which is in, well, let's see which one we can use. Common e-learning pages, not common widgets, not this one. I think most probably this one. All right, so over here we need to pass the title. The title is course detail, so here it's a course detail, and that's it. Now all we need to do, we need to come over here inside this course detail, and we're gonna call it, so here build app bar. Let's see. Okay, it's not a private function, and we can't have a private method or function, otherwise it's not gonna work. No, we don't want it from our common widgets, but it does look like inside our common widgets we also have one. Step back. Okay, so it's referring to an app bar over here. Actually, this is not the app bar we want. We want the app bar that's been created inside this course detail widget. Okay, I'm going to have it like this. So I'm going to copy this one, the package name from here, and just replace it. Okay, and with this the problem should be gone. Yeah, but of course we can reduce this using dots, but let's keep it like this. Now let's save it, and then okay, we don't see anything yet. Okay, the reason could be, let's get in there in our widgets, which should refer to this one. Now here we do have reusable and
color, text color, color primary text. Okay, so here we see that we have the title over here, course detail. So, well, it's working. We want to build. So here we'll have a thumbnail, some description, and you can of course definitely go and buy. And after that, over here, you could also view your course, the thing that course includes, a lot of the information, and as well as a lot more information about the course. But now this one, we go from here to there. Well, I'm not going to play it. We'll take care of that later. Yes, we do see that we have some issues, but we'll talk about them later. So this is the thing that we want to do. So in our UI over here, first we need to be able to do this UI, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So definitely we don't want to have this. What do you want to have? Over here, you want to first take care of the body section. Now inside the body, actually we want single child scroll view, because we want the page to be a little bit scrollable. And then we'll have child, and then inside this we'll have column, and then we'll have children. So that's the thing we want to do. And after this, we also want to take care of the background colors. So we can wrap this around a container, this one. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to wrap it around. Here we would say container and child scaffold. All right, and right after this, here we could give it a color. So let's go ahead and do that. Colors.white. So let me fall back to our app, this one. All right. And right after this, we can also wrap it around another widget over here. Not this one. Okay. So we're gonna wrap it around safe area widget. Then over here we'll have child. Okay, great. Now inside the safe area widget, you can also well, we don't need that, so that's pretty much it. And after this, inside the scaffold, we can define a background color. So let's do that. Background color, it's colors.white. So everything should look white. Okay, great. All right, and okay, right over here we want to show our children. Now we need to do it with padding, actually. So here I would be wrapping around everything inside padding. So this is a screenshot, and as you can see over here, we'll have this little bit of distance. So here we could do with the padding, or we can take it slowly. Let's go ahead and do padding. And then here we'll have padding, and edge sets dot symmetrical, this one, and vertically. So here we do vertical 15.h, and horizontal, say 25.h, like this. 25.w actually. Now I think we need to import the package. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, right. And after this, over here we want to show this one, right? Okay, how to do that? So we'll have a child, and inside the child we'll have column, and inside the column we'll have children. And the first children would be like this, a container to show our image. Now what kind of image we want to show? Well, we'll give it width and height. So let's give it width 325.w and height
say 200.h. After that, we'll have child over here, and or we could also do actually decoration, and we know box decoration comes with image. So here we could do image. First we do asset image, because we don't have network image yet. So that's why we'll have assets, icons. Now let's open up from here. Well, is it from icons? Well, we could get any of them. So we can use this images actually. So image 1, image 2, image 1, image 2, like this. These are the images that we could go ahead and do that. So here I'll have image 1.png. all right, it looks like we have an issue inside this asset image. Okay, I need to cut this one, and then I need to do decoration image, and inside this we put it, and we should not have any problem. Okay, now most probably we can just simply go ahead with a const modifier, and it should look better. Okay, the image is already there. That's beautiful. Now of course I know it looks strange, so one of the things I could do, I could go ahead and change this backend images, so that at least it looks like we are doing the same kind of image. Now with this you'd also learn how to change images in the backend. Now let's go to our backend server over here. So I'm going to open it up. So let's go ahead and access this. Admin. All right, and now over here we have this courses. So I can just simply go ahead and change them. Now I'm going to click on this and click edit, and just I'm going to browse a new image too, and then let's submit it. Okay, very good. All right, but of course it don't reflect the changes here. In the future we'll see how to work with this section where you just can tap on this and reload everything from the server one more time. All right, well, with this it looks very good. All right, okay, now, well, even earlier we had one point missing about description. So let's see whether we have description or not. Oh yes, we have description. Well, one of the thing could miss from our original design over here, the subtitles. So we don't have any subtitle over here, which also need to work. Anyway, now this is what it looks like, and after that we need to work on this fitness. Let's go ahead and do that. So decoration image, and let's see, we can do fit property, box fit dot fit width. I think fit. Let's go ahead and save it. Almost probably not much change. Okay, so next we need to work on this 3 icon buttons over here, as you can see.
All right, assalamu alaikum. So let's go ahead and keep working on this. Well, so this one we have, and we can definitely separate this one. So we're going to go ahead and create a new widget in our course digital widget. And for now, we're gonna just say we're gonna return a widget, and the widget return type would be widget, and we can just simply call it thumbnail. All right, okay. Well, for now it's still static, but since after we build our API, then we're going to have it as our dynamic state, where we'll change and pass the state and then we'd be able to read it directly from this. Okay, all right. So let's come over here and we can call it from here thumbnail, this one. Yes, and let's save it. And yeah, I think it should be good. Everything is auto restarted, but anyway, yeah, it's working. Okay, great. And let's take a look at the next thing. Well, next we want to build these two things, and we also want to be able to build them, actually all these three, not two. Okay, so first we'll do this one, and then this would be more interesting because over here we would be building reusable widgets using our older reusable widgets. Anyway, so this is the first place that we want to do. Now I'm going to come over here, and instead this I'm going to create a new widget, and we'll call it menu view, like that. Okay, and inside this we can always return a container for any kind of widget. It doesn't really matter. Container doesn't affect actually anything unless you give it with height, color, and box decoration. So over here we're gonna call it menu view. All right, and let's go ahead and see if we have any changes. Definitely not, but you can verify your changes if you just slightly give it, say, width. Say we're gonna give it width 325.w, and then here we'll have let's say we give it a color, and we'll see, well, most probably the color won't work without height. Colors.red, red accent, it's not gonna work. So over here I'm gonna give it a height, say just a random height, doesn't really matter. Okay, so it's working. All right, now let's back to the design over here, the design that we have seen. So they all have to be in a row, so we're going to have a row over here. We're gonna remove it because we'll have child, and child will have dynamic size, so it container will take the size. Now we'll go ahead and do child, and then we'll have row because these things would be in a row, right? And then inside this we'll have children, and the first one is this one, and this would be a clickable one, so that's why we're going to use gesture detector, and we'll have on tap, and for now on tap event is empty. All right, and at the same time, well, we will have a background color, and that's why we need a child, and then we need a container because we'll have a background color. And inside this what can we do? Well, first we could do decoration over here, so we do box decoration because we see that there are border radius, so we have to apply box decoration. So let's go ahead and do color, and colors dot over here we are going to use color primary, well, not this color, actually our color is app colors dot primary element, this one, the first one. Let's go ahead and save it. Okay, now it's gone, and over here we don't need this color at all. Okay, now it's not visible yet because as a child actually we don't have anything inside. Okay, so that's why the color is not there, because it doesn't know where to apply the color or to whom apply the color to. So over here you could do child, and then if you do text and simply you say author. All right, so as you see it's there, it's visible because there's this child. So without child it's just not gonna work. All right, so you get the idea, but now it does look a bit ugly, and let's continue to work on this. So one of the things you want to do, okay, most probably the color of this text itself. Now we already have reusable text, reusable, visible text, common app, not that one actually, not that one. I think this is the first one that we want. All right, so inside this we're gonna have text over here, and we can give it author. I guess that should be author page. All right, let's save it. Okay, so it got bigger. It's set up here with the default properties, and we can change them. Now, first thing we want to change is the color itself. So let's go ahead and apply color, and we do app colors dot primary element text. The second one, let's save it. All right, so it's already become whiter. We like it. And then font weight. So with this, the font weight is bold, the current one, and then we're gonna apply it to font weight dot normal. Beautiful. Let's I think, okay, not font size, this is a font weight. Save it. Even smaller. Good. And then we can also do font size over here, and this one, let's save it. Okay, we might need to import. It says that font size you can't use, and well, that's the weird part over here. Now let's take a look what are the size we are talking. Okay, so this is the problem. So reusable size we are using in our widget, which is global widget, and over here we have defined it as int. So this is what is causing problem. Now this is the widget that we're talking about here. So let's convert it to double, and now let's save it. Let's come over here, and it should take effect automatically. So this is our current state. All right, I mean, this is the global one that we're using. Great. And then well, it looks ugly, right? So one of the things you want to do first here, you want to apply padding so that you can have some space at the top of the text itself, but within the container. So here we do agentsets dot only, and then here left 15.w, right 15.w. Well, I could have gone with just symmetric. Agentsets that's symmetric. Now we could do horizontal 15.w and vertical 5.h. Let's go ahead and save it. Yeah, it looks better now. Okay, great. And now over here, since we are inside this box decoration, we also want to be able to apply a certain border, otherwise it's looking ugly, right? Still looking ugly. Border radius dot circular 7.w. Let's save it. Okay, so it looks better. And let's see, border and border dot all. Now here we'll have color, and app colors dot primary element, this one, and they would be the same color, I guess. Okay, well, they did apply a little bit of border around it, so it looks like it bumped up. Okay, great. And now let's take a look at our design over here. Okay, so we do have a bit of issues, like they're too close to each other. So this is what we want to take care. Now this is also possible to apply a bit of space over here. Let's see where it is, course detail. So space between these two. Here we could apply sized box, actually, sized box. And we could do height 15.h. It should do the work. All right, okay, great. Now back to this one over here. So we are done with this, and this was our first child so far, and we don't want any more changes right now. So we can collapse this right over here, and let's see, it says that you can replace it with sized box. Okay, let's do that. And then now we want to take a look at this one, this two over here. So these are also reusable. They should be reusable widgets, because the first one is an icon, second one is a number, right? So we want to be able to build a widget that's reusable. Now over here I'm going to have a widget, and this would be a private one so far, because we just want to apply to this page. Well, in future, if we find in more places it has, then we can make it global. So here we could just simply say iconAndNum, just like this, and then definitely it'll take string icon name, and the string, well, that could be actually, well, if you see over here, that should be actually integer, so we can just simply pass into num for now, and inside this we are going to return a container always works. All right, okay, great. Now inside this we are going to have icon name and num. Now, well, the first one is icon name. Actually, that should be our icon path. Instead of name, you want to set path actually, because that would be an image in our case, the icon itself. So here you want to give them a path. Say for example, the first one, the path is assets, icons, and people.png. That's what we want to show. And for now we're gonna just have 0 for them, and we take it over here, and that's it. Now I'm going to work on both of them at the same time, so that actually we know that what's working and what is not working. So over here we'll have star. Of course we didn't use any of them, so there is no result over here, so we're gonna go ahead and use them. So the very first thing you want to do over here, you want to show an image. Now, well, how to do it? Based on this design, we know that they have to be in a row. So the very first thing we want to introduce, first we want to introduce a child over here, and we do row. And then inside this we'll have children, and inside children you can use image. All right, like this, and let's see. Okay, we'll have that one, don't worry. Image, and then over here we need to use the path. So instead of, okay, it does look like icon, so I'm gonna call it icon anyway, icon path. And let's see what is requiring. Oh, we can't have path directly, of course. You have to have asset image, this one. And then inside this, I'll have this icon. Let's save it now. And we already see this. Okay, beautiful in a sense, because it's already showed up. Now we have to constrain or restrain them. And how to do that? Here we'll have this width, say 20.w, and height 20.h. Now let's save it, and we'd see that they should be looking better. Okay, well, we see over here we have this overflow issue. The reason is you spelled it wrong. I mean, I spelled it wrong here. It should be star, not start. Okay, now it's gone. As you can see, and it's beautiful. And after this, actually, you also want to show your text over here. And for that text itself, one more time, we can just simply go ahead and use reusable text, this one. And for now, the text itself, we do num dot to string, just like this. Okay, that's all we want. So that should put 0 right after it. But once again, this is being designed with this original properties, so we want to change them over here. So here we'll do color and app colors dot primary third element text, this one, and font size 11.sp, and then font weight would do font weight dot normal. All right, so now let's save it, and it'll look much better. And one of the things you want to do with this one over here, because they're too close, right? So over here you could do a margin, and here we do edge insets only dot only, and here we do only right one, and we will see that they have a space on the right. Well, I think that should be left. Let's do that left. Okay, yeah, so with this it looks better. So actually we just built a reusable widget very quickly. Otherwise we would have to repeat everything the way that they should have been in earlier design, but we just made them reusable, just simple lines of code. And in future, if we need both of them, this icon and text together, so we can make them global. One of the other things you should notice, we also used another reusable widget inside this reusable widget. Okay, great. So with this, we're looking much better. And our next step should be, well, showing this and this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is creating this title over here, and that'd be pretty easy for us because we have reusable text for that in place. So here we are going to do like this. So here we just simply go ahead and call reusable text, and make sure that you import the correct one, most probably the third one, yes. And then all we need to do, we need to pass course description, yes. Let's go ahead and save it. And now here, if we see, yes, they're exactly the same, but of course we need to work on the alignment. So this is the beauty of reusable text component. All right, or reusable any kind of widgets. Okay, so the problem here we are facing is that it should be over here, and well, it is not over here. One of the things we could do over here right now, let's see, well, it okay, not really over here. We can come inside this, and then we could do cross-axis alignment and cross-axis alignment dot start. We'll see how it goes. Okay, right, it looks beautiful now. And right after this, over here we could use a sized box. Let's go ahead and do that, and here we'll have height and height of 15.h, and we should be good with this. Yes, beautiful. All right, so yeah, that's as simple as that one. And then we have this text itself over here. Now, how to work with this text? We're able to do that over here. First, we can simply go ahead and do reusable text one more time. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. Okay. And one of the things that I would like to do right now is say, for example, I can copy it many times, and then let's put it, and let's see the result. Okay, all right, So, well, it may look like it may work. So this is one thing we could just simply go ahead and try. Now, what about the text style over here? Because this is definitely not what we want, right? Okay, great. So over here, we could just simply go ahead and do some color. And here we do app colors dot primary third element, this one, and font weight dot normal, and font size 11.sp. all right, so let's go ahead and save it, and now it looks like this. And here we do see we might have some inconsistency with the space. Let's go ahead and work on them and see how it looks like. Okay, well, with this it's working, so we don't need to worry about it. So next we want to work on this button over here, the button you have seen. Okay, and what else? Let's see, do we look a little bit bigger over here? Well, yeah, these are all capital letters, so in this sense it should look bigger. Now for the button itself, we'll come over here and we are going to create a button. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and do that over here. So here simply we do widget, and then we'll say go by button, and I guess we need the string as a name, button name, like that. And after that, just simply go ahead and return a container, just like all the time. You always return a container, and give it a width and height. So button should have width and height, so with 330.h or w, and height over here 50.h. And then over here we do say decoration and box decoration, and color app colors dot primary element, and then border radius dot all, the radius border radius dot all or border radius dot circular 10.w. and then inside this we can have border color border. So here we'll have border dot all, color app colors dot primary element. Okay, just like this. And right after this we should have our, so this is the decoration. Then go ahead and do a child over here, and then over here we'll have name. All right, just like this. Now we need to come to our course detail over here, and inside this we're gonna call it. All right, so over here I'm going to call it as a button, right? So here it's say go by button, and then here is say go by. All right, now let's go ahead and save it, see how things looks. Okay, it is here, not bad. All right, and there are other things that we need to take care. All the things we could do with this, let's see if it works. Text align dot center. Well, it's centered horizontally but not vertically yet. And well, we are inside a container. Now for container itself, let's apply some padding over here, so that would applied inside everything. So here we do edge insets dot only. All right, Now here let's do top 13.h. Okay, so it came down, and that's actually pretty much all we wanted. And what else has to do with this? Now we can apply other style to it. So here, style, text style, and then inside this we could do like this, font weight, so here color, and app colors dot primary element text. This one, let's save it. Yes. And after this, font weight 16.sp, and sorry, it's a font size, and font weight dot normal. Okay, and it looks like it should be white, but we don't see it as white. Primary element, not third element. Now if you come over here, actually you can apply size to it. So here we do sized box height, and then 20.h. Okay, beautiful. Now one of the other things we could do right away, we can just simply go ahead and take this out from here, and I'm going to create a description text. This is what I'm going to create so far, and I'm going to put it here right after this. So widget description text, and then we'll have return like this. Okay, now let's save it. Well, with this it looks very concise everywhere, you understand me? Clear. All right, so thumbnail size box of any view. So all right, so here first big image. All right, okay, 3 buttons or menus. All right, and then over here course description title, course description, course by button. All right, okay, good. Well, future we're gonna send the text from here, but for now we are good. And what is the next one? So the next section is working on this, the subtitle, as well as this list view buttons over here.